Everybody has a life story. Some are exciting, and some are boring. Like a soldier in Vietnam fighting for our freedom, barely making out alive, later receiving a letter asking for divorce by his unfaithful wife. Or a black person in Chicago, trying to make it to the NBA, but blowing out his knee in the fourth quarter of the championship game. A man that stands alone, minds his business every single day, gets beaten all the time because he chooses to be gay. Now, what about the mother of 5 loving children, diagnosed with breast cancer on a death card, having to spread her ashes, her children do it across the entire backyard? Now, I heard a story. I heard a story from a 17-year-old young man. He says to me, he's scared every single day of his life, thinking that to come back and never leave him alone. The images isn't what fright him, but the thousands of voices that gnaw on him like a bone. His father, a bipolar schizophrenic. For 14 years, he knew he had that certain gene. Never did he thought the day would come where he'd hear voices so clearly. All he was doing was smoking weed one day till he noticed he got way too pissed and he sighed. That was the day that would come. That was the day he should give his life a kiss goodbye. 2 months later, he broke down to his mother, yelling and crying. He says, "I hear voices." His mother rushed him to the hospital and the doctors gave him a couple choices. In and out of mental hospitals, taking medicine every single day. Wanted to kill himself several times, thought his life was over and done with. You would too if you had multiple minds. He wanted to meet his father for the first time. So listen to me and get this. A 15-year-old boy flew all the way to Texas. He never got to meet his father, but when he tried being a good son, his dad told him to get lost and pulled out a 12-gauge shotgun. He'll never forget the day he saw his father. In handcuffs and his chances blown, he just stared the boy down in blank emotion. Mama was right, he lacked a mind of his own. In this story, I don't even know what to say. Ever hear the saying, like father, like son? To this day, that boy just prays, praying for a better life. He looks to the sun. That's the story of the 17-year-old young man. I'm not sure if this is the right timing, but that bipolar schizophrenic is named Seth Simon. So that's my life story. Now, I don't mean to compare it to anyone else's. I don't want to compare it at all. But what I've been through, I'm only 18 years old, and that was back when I was 15. You can imagine how I felt then. I've written some crazy stuff within the past 4 years. It's pretty scary if you ask me. So just to give you an idea of how my thought process goes, my next poem is fiction, but it's actually heart-stopping. So this is how it goes. It's heart-stopping. Beep, beep, beep. You hear about so many people, stories about hospitals and death, doctors, nurses, anybody to save a life, but they're too late on that last breath. A doctor's job is to save lives, deliver babies, anything to do with anatomy. I'm sure they have a good conscience, yet they're so crooked: doctors, nurses, and secretaries. How many know a doctor that screwed up, or were too late to save a certain person's life? To the doctors that killed my 14-year-old cousin, all I got to hear was that last beep. She flatlined. I seen her walking down the road, got sideswiped by a 17-year-old, had to turn fast because he had that new Camaro. She was on the crosswalk, he turned right on red, in a hurry, not even to California stop, but now her heart did. It was her deathbed. When the ambulance came, it was scary. They said there was hope to save her. For 15 hours on life support, my aunt and uncle were there. They just said to be brave for her. I didn't believe the doctors when they said she still has a chance. He said a ribcage punctured her lungs. She didn't catch a breath, not even a glance. The doctors told her parents, it's time to let her go. My little cousin wasn't ready. Her candles will now be blown. The doctor told my family in a condescending tone that he's sorry and she was too young. Later, I see him laughing on the phone. So I called the police and I investigated. Turns out my little cousin had 3 broken ribs. The morgue reported she didn't die the way we thought. The doctors lied to us and it was something we bought. The mortician told us she was killed intentionally. The way her rib broke, he said, snapped in half. They didn't and couldn't reach her lungs from the bottom. We didn't press charges against the driver. But the doctor, we caught him. Didn't think twice, I was pissed. So was my family. We're all a little bit out there, and I knew that, but it was time for justice. For me, revenge. To hear that doctor's last bit of air, it was mine to hear. He has a family, 2 kids and a wife. In a hospital he works, he now lays. This is something nobody knows to this day. Poison. And his wild cherry Pepsi to slowly eat away at his insides. That was revenge and justice for me. I heard it again, standing outside of his room. One last time. Beep, beep, beep. The flat line. So that just gives you a little thought process of how my mind works and how everything in my life has happened to me. It's scary to think that minds, they all play tricks on you, but you never know till the day it comes.